This is actually the live queries right now.
That has created an astoundingly intimate database of who we are and what we think.
People turn to the search engine box and admit things to it that they would not admit to their doctor, their shrink, their priest, their wife or husband, or anyone else, without a thought that all of these queries are being stored.
If that doesn't give you pause, Seton Hall law professor Frank Pasquale has a suggestion. Imagine someone reading through a list of every Google search you've ever done.
There are things that can be misinterpreted or that could somehow shed a bad light or shed a false light on somebody. You know, you may just be interested in a certain topic, but it may associate you with the topic, like terrorism or something like that. If you're doing a school report on that, that would be tough if you ultimately found yourself on, say, some TSA watch list because it ended up getting to the TSA.
Yeah, but isn't a search done on Google completely anonymous?
It depends. If you're signed in, it's definitely not anonymous. If you're not signed in, that search will at least be connected to your IP address, which is the unique address of your computer on the network.
Privacy advocates say the digital footprints we leave behind, from cell phones, GPS devices, and search engines, just to start, have created a huge array of targets for prying eyes. Not just for marketers and hackers, but also the government and law enforcement officials pursuing terrorists and other criminals.
Police, don't move! Don't move!
The Fourth Amendment protects citizens from unreasonable search and seizure. But the government has argued that it doesn't protect data handed over to a third party, like Google.
Can the government tell Google it wants, it demands all the information that Google has collected from any particular person who's done searches?
I believe that if you look at some of the examples of prosecutions and divorce actions there, that the answer would be yes. That because of something called the third-party doctrine, our Fourth Amendment law doesn't apply to a lot of things that you do online.
In fact, the Electronic Frontier Foundation estimates that Google is subpoenaed in lawsuits, criminal cases, and intelligence investigations tens of thousands of times a year. Though it sometimes fights these requests, Google is compelled to reveal its users' information in some cases. The company declined to tell us how often that happens.
People are treating Google like their most trusted friend. Should they be?
Well, I think judgment matters.
Eric Schmidt is Google's CEO.
If you have something that you don't want anyone to know, maybe you shouldn't be doing it in the first place. But if you really need that kind of privacy, the reality is that search engines, including Google, do retain this information for some time. And it's important, for example, that we are all subject in the United States to the Patriot Act. It is possible that that information could be made available to the authorities.
The Patriot Act expanded one of the government's most powerful surveillance tools, the so-called National Security Letter. It allows law enforcement and intelligence agencies to see your internet activities without a judge's oversight. That's what worries Kevin Bankston, government access to Google's data.
Those in power have abused their surveillance authority as a matter of routine as you look through U.S. history. It's why we have the laws that we do.
But Eric Schmidt says protecting user privacy is Google's top priority.
Where does all my search info go?
Well, first place, we have all our privacy policies are fully disclosed on our websites, and it's all written down very, very carefully. The most important thing we do is that after 18 months, the search information that you entered is so-called anonymized. It's literally gotten rid of, and we can't go back and track it back to you.
The data may seem anonymized, but if you combine it with enough other data, you can develop a pretty good profile of people, particularly, say, people in rural areas where there may not be that many internet users.